When last we left our fearless explorers, they were on, I think the name of the planet is Gloria GB7, but it's called the golf ball because from space it looks like a giant golf ball because they'd actually built their entire planet into these giant satellite dishes. And we went there because the last mission we'd gone on to Epiphany Station, we had found that there was a radio transmission that got eventually called the Epiphany that makes you like super smart and makes you want to transcend mortal existence, which makes you end up turning yourself into a crystal and a huge explosion of energy, which is considered to be an extreme hazard. And we all wiped our memories and got out of there. It's still not clear whether it actually does make you transcend your mortal existence and lead to a better place, because everyone who's done that is gone now. So, but either way, those of us who have not transcended existence don't want to turn into crystals. So, except for maybe Flint Daniels, who wasn't on the mission, he's kind of interested. So and this planet was transmitting a faint signal that was similar to the Epiphany signal, and it was previously an irrelevant planet that they had scanned earlier, but now that they went, once they had got the Epiphany thread, they went through, found anything that was remotely similar and categorized it as immediately interesting. So we went to this planet, and we got to the planet, and we were just heading towards a settlement full of radio dishes where the signal seemed to be originating from. And we found this broken down satellite dish that was still transmitting this weak signal, and we started looking around. It's really weird doing this just by myself because there's no one like to
bounce off.
Yeah. And in this dilapidated building, we saw a hologram of this alien guy, and he called us over and said something like, well, I don't know if I can trust you yet, so I can't tell you too much, and I can't tell you too much on the surface, but I guess what I need to ask you is, are you in favor of the spread of information or against it? And something like that. And Flint Daniels, of course, is like, oh yes, we are absolutely in favor of the spread of information, of bringing everyone together, the amity of nations, his usual spiel about
Power Rangers, not Power Rangers,
the Space Rangers, It seemed to make a good impression on this hologram, and we started asking him things like, okay, what are you transmitting? I don't remember exactly the details because we talked to this guy a couple times and it kind of merged together in my brain, but the basic thing that he told us is that he can't tell us anything really meaningful this close to the surface, or on the surface, because the pattern matchers will detect the information and come to destroy us. So, but he started to trust us and he said, okay, there's an underground bunker over there, so go over there and I can tell you more. And then he said, oh, it looks like I've used too much energy and I've attracted the disassembler swarms. So you might need to go quickly. And so at that moment is when we see these like kind of inverted tornadoes swirling towards us, coming to destroy everything. And he did say that they were from, what were they called? It's too bad Brian's not here. The something empire disassembler swarms, some sort of alien empire. Their disassembler swarms are coming to destroy everything. And he said that they were part of a faction known as the Silencers. So we ran for the cover of the thing, but we weren't fast enough. We had to fight the disassembler swarms. And they were interesting because they were extremely difficult to harm because they were just little bits of, they're nanites basically. They're nanotechnology. They just take things apart, including humans. But we discovered pretty quickly on that they took double damage from anything explosion or fire based. So of course, Dr. Yoon was very happy to pull out a rocket launcher, and I had my rocket launcher too. So they were pretty scary until we managed to get out the rocket launchers, and then we just very quickly obliterated them. And ran to the bunker.
I do love that Yoon is obsessed with rocket launchers.
Yeah, it's also funny how it just kind of came about, like kind of organically. Like she just, when we were doing our practice, it wasn't even the real thing. It was like a practice how to do combat. She was like blasting everything with a rocket launcher, and seemed to really love that. And so then we just started acting like that was her character, and next thing you know, it was. So, and she's really obsessed with like not harming living things, and we gotta like heal things. I'm a doctor, but rocket launcher. So anyway, so we made our way to that bunker, and in the entryway we encountered that hologram again and started asking him about the disassembler swarms, and he was still not willing to tell us really much of anything. A, because he didn't trust us fully, and B, because he was too close to the surface. But he said that they were sent, there was a big war, and there were those who wanted to silence all information coming out, but their species, whose name I don't even remember, Thok something, they had always been committed to the spread of information. That's why their whole planet was this, and in fact, this wasn't even their home planet. Like they are an interstellar race and this is like a relay station. So this is like the main hub of their relay of the intergalactic communication, faster than light communication stuff. And their whole species was really obsessed with being communication facilitators. That was like their purpose. That was what they loved to do, and they really believed that there was some huge threat facing the galaxy that he couldn't talk about, but they believed that they could solve it through communication. But there was a faction that believed that communication was the problem and isolation was the only escape from this calamity. And so they're the faction known as the Silencers, and they had completely obliterated their planet. And the only people left alive are in underground bunkers because the disassembler swarms have completely destroyed the surface. And there's also nanotoxins that killed everyone on the surface. And basically have set out to wipe out their entire species because they continued to try to spread information. But he wouldn't tell us anything more because on the surface, the pattern matchers can detect this information that's important, so they can come get it. So he said he started to trust us more when we started to talk to him about how, we believe in spreading information, we're not silencers. And so he showed us how to get in, and it was this old, and he said, no, he didn't say this yet. There was this old hatch that we were able to open, and it led to this extremely deep shaft that clearly used to have an elevator in it, but it didn't anymore. So we had to descend, but we have like futuristic climbing gear, so we send the thing and get into the underground bunker, and it's just tunnels and tunnels of like service tunnels.
Yeah.
We're going for ages and ages through this thing, and nothing's happening. But finally we get to a junction, and there's like a broken off hollow transmitter. And so Anne Pillay, the mechanic, starts fixing it, and she actually discovers that it's just out of the futuristic equivalent of Wi-Fi range.
Right.
So she does some tweaks to it and brings it where she can sense there's the energy signatures. She can sense that it can pick up its things, and so she gets it into range, and it immediately is crackling, and it's not quite. It needs to be repaired some more, and the static is so bad that the translator can't translate it. And so she starts fiddling with it, she gets it going, and she finally gets it to say something, and it says something like, "You got to get out of here, corrupted ghosts," and I want to say disassembler beetle, but it wasn't that. It was something to do with like fixing, like redactor. Maybe it was redactor beetle. And get out of here.
Right.
But it was too late because already the corrupted ghost and the redactor beetle are coming.
Right.
And the corrupted ghost was basically like a data basilisk, like an image that if you see it's a mimetic hazard. It makes you go crazy or kills you, but it's kind of like flickering, so it's only doing damage because it's not like you catch it from the corner of your eye and like it messes with your mind, right? And so the corrupted ghosts are coming, and the redactor beetles are chasing them. But the corrupted ghosts started attacking us, and they're like on these like data pods or something. So we start shooting the actual whatever's projecting these corrupted ghosts at us, and the hologram afterwards told us that they're basically data that's gone bad. It's been corrupted by some source that he can't tell us about, but it has these mimetic hazards in it. So the corrupted ghosts we actually made pretty quick work of, but the redactor beetles, after the corrupted ghosts were gone, immediately started attacking us because we seemed, I guess, not like the data that they were expecting.
Right.
Their purpose is to remove data corruptions. So they basically proceeded to shoot like things like USB cables into us. And, it's not the most effective attack, but having USB cables jammed into your body does damage. So we had to kill the redactor beetles as well. The fight wasn't actually too long, but it was kind of interesting. And then the hologram then explained to us, that he hates to even say it because he loves data and is committed to preserving all data, but there is some data that has gotten corrupted to the point where it's dangerous, and unfortunately it has to be expunged. and that's what those corrupted ghosts are. They're part of that. And he can tell us more further on. He and his family are safe deep within this vault. Go this way. You'll find it. And so we make our way further along, and we get to the entrance of the vault.
The characters like speculating about what's going on or arguing about like
so
silence versus communication.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Yes, I mean, we came here because the signal was related to the Epiphany. So the assumption we're all making is that the corruption is the Epiphany signal. And he has mentioned, I don't know if he's mentioned the Epiphany signal yet. I think he started mentioning it now, but we're still not deep enough to be safe from the pattern matchers, but he could tell us some vague information that yes, there was an Epiphany signal. And we're assuming the data corruption is coming from the Epiphany signal. And I think it was pretty clear to us that, the Epiphany, because, when people get the Epiphany, they become super smart, and then they turn themselves into crystals and blow up. And some people were like, we need to solve this through communication. Some people were like, we need to shut down all communication. So it was clear, I think, to us that basically the Epiphany was spreading through this galactic civilization, like with multiple races or whatever in it. And some of them said, we need to shut down all communication because the Epiphany will kill us all. And these guys said, no, we need to not do that. And so then the silencers came and killed all the guys who said, no, let's keep communicating. But, I think most people speculated in their own minds. For whatever reason, we didn't end up talking about it too much. I think we all kind of were on the same page of speculation. So eventually we got to his living quarters, and he said, I'm just within here, so just, speak your name and the door will let you in.
Right.
So we speak our name, nothing happens. The door is like rusted, just like well disused. And we cut and blast and rip our way through and get in there. And inside we see a completely destroyed to bits living area. I mean, this planet has been dead for at least 1 million years, so how long he was in there, I don't know, but the place looks completely disused. And the hologram appears again inside and says, welcome to my living area. It's nice to see you. I'll be out to greet you shortly. Hello, welcome to my living area.
Right.
I'll be out to greet you shortly. And we asked him, where are you? And he said, oh, I'm just deeper within here. Hello, welcome to my...
Right,
so eventually we start looking deeper in there because obviously, he's not coming and this is a recording. And we find, inside there, we find a living area with a bunch of cots, and in the cots are just dust.
Right.
And they've been dead for a long time, and we mentioned this to the hologram. He's like, oh, well, I was hoping I would live to meet you, but it looks like I didn't. So you'll have to be content with the recordings that I made. And so it becomes apparent. It was sort of apparent before, but like all these holograms are just recordings of this guy that this guy's made. Though it was not clear to me. I thought there was more AI behind it than like just that he was obsessed with data and made like millions of recordings for every eventuality, and like a simple state machine drives them. Like there is like a state machine in some AI, but the AI is simpler than I expected. It was more. There was more just pure data than.
It's like a big house.
Yeah. And so
it seems like something Brian would do.
Yeah. We can ask him anything that he's pre-recorded. We discovered that their species is quite long-lived. Like they live for thousands of years, but not for millions of years. So he and his family died down here 1 million years minus 4,000 years ago, whatever, right? But he has all these recordings, and they're all stored on these clear discs. And we can't carry them all out, but we can carry some of them out. And he's super keen on the idea that we would take this information because he's an information custodian. He wants that.
He wants to escape the redactor beetles and the deconstructors, right?
Yeah. And so he does believe that the Epiphany. So he tells the story of the Epiphany, which I'll go to in a second. But he doesn't believe the Epiphany is dangerous, and as much as it pains him philosophically, he realizes there are some bits of data that are corrupted and dangerous and should not be spread. But those should have all been redacted from his data. But he tells us a bunch of information about the Empire. There's a huge, a coalition of many different races that were living together in harmony before basically they were wiped out by... Well, when he went down into this bunker, they were all trying to avoid being wiped out by the Epiphany. and the ones that basically their strategy seemed to be hiding. And as far as we can tell, there's no more galactic civilizations, so they either all died or a few of them survived by hiding, but there is no more. The galactic civilization from a million years ago that is gone. The Epiphany signal first came from a far-off galaxy, the first hint of it, and it was actually this species that was just sending out a signal, not even knowing what was out there, basically broadcasting about their species, like, hey, here we are, this is what we do, we're great in this way. And they sent out all these transmissions, and they're called the Sinus. It's the actual name of a galaxy that's near the Milky Way.
Sintra?
It's like I don't remember, but I remember I made fun of it by using Sinistar. I am Sinistar.
Yeah.
So it was like Sinisteria or
Brian.
I
can't remember what it was.
Or you guys are searching galaxies? It definitely is Sinis.
To the internet.
No.
Circinus?
Yes, and he called it Circinus, the Circinus galaxy, yes. So they called it the Circinus transmission. And they got this transmission from this species, and it just started telling them about themselves, and also about there was a similar kind of galactic thing with various different races or whatever there. And the first hints of the Epiphany were in the one of the early transmissions where they said, oh, the such and such race, they seem to have achieved their goal of transcending their immortal existence. They've always been kind of weird and obsessed with that kind of stuff, and they seem to be no longer communicating, and the planet is covered in crystal, and they're gone now. So, yay! Good job, good job, guys. You achieved what you wanted.
Yeah.
And whatever. And then as things go on, it becomes clear that the Epiphany is like spreading through that thing, and more races are doing the crystal thing. Their people are disappearing, and their planets are exploding and turning into crystal and whatever. And they're, a war breaks out, and people try to flee, and it doesn't really work out. And eventually, the race that's sending it embraces the Epiphany, and their transmissions start to be laced with Epiphany information. So they don't actually know what the Epiphany is any more than we do. Except that they know the same thing it does to us. It makes people really smart. Then they decide they want to transcend existence. They turn into crystals and they explode into energy. But one thing they discovered is the Epiphany signal they discovered it was originating from a relativistic ship. So that is a ship that's traveling close to the speed of light, but not faster than it. It's a huge thing. It's center. It's powered by a black hole, and it has like thrusters that are like red dwarfs. Like it's this huge, gigantic thing passing through the galaxy, and it's sending out the signal. And when the people turn into energy and transcend, the energy is directed at that thing. And it also sends out advanced things that like transmit the signal too, that are smaller. But these things are like way beyond anything they can do. They can't do anything about it. And basically, what happens to that civilization is that they all succumb to the Epiphany. There's one last signal from this other species saying, we noticed that the such and such species, whose name I forget, that was sending these transmissions, and we thought we would complete them. They're all gone now. All that's left are us, the such and such protectorate. We're the guys who we're arbitrators. We arbitrate everything in this galaxy. We love rules, and people love us to arbitrate, so we arbitrate. And we were somewhat resistant to the Epiphany, not fully resistant, but we don't like it that much because it doesn't seem to fit our rules. But we've decided to hide. We're just going to hide. We've gone to the edge of the galaxy. We've used all our resources to make like a final ship, and our species is going to try to settle this distant thing and hide. This is our last transmission. And we don't know what we're going to do with our lives because we're basically a species of arbitrators with no one to arbitrate. So, goodbye. And that's how it all ends. So there's no more signals from that galaxy. And this galaxy, or this planet, has now been destroyed by it. And they have this guy has information on this relativistic ship. And of course, this information is all from a million years ago. But like looking at it and calculating, extrapolating it, of course, this relativistic ship would be entering the Milky Way galaxy right about now. So we still don't know what the Epiphany is, but we do know it's related to this possibly huge ship thing that's heading for the Milky Way. And I think that's about where we ended because we basically learned a bunch of stuff, fought some stuff.
Yeah.
But it's kind of cool because if we're taking the approach of like, once you set something up in an adventure, you don't own it. Anyone can run with it, right?
Right.
So the Epiphany was Tim's idea, and I'm sure he had a completely different idea from Brian's idea of what the Epiphany's turned into. But that's kind of cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it fits.
Mm-hmm. Brian told me that he actually had this adventure already planned out, and he just fit the Epiphany into it because he was already planning this like dire threat from the destroyed multiple galaxies coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's about where we left off.
Sounds like you got there just in time.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting trying to leave the planet because the pattern matchers will have the information. However, I'm now realizing that like that was a hologram, so the pattern matchers might just be able to match patterns saved on data, on disks or whatever. It might not match patterns as in our actual brains, so we might be okay, hopefully.
Well, unless you try to bring the data out.
Which we are going to. We've collected the most pertinent disks. We've taken all the data disks we can carry, all the most pertinent ones we can carry, and so it's true. Whatever the pattern matchers do to people that have data they don't like, they're going to try to do it to us. And I'm realizing that our ship is badly damaged, so we probably are going to have to send ahead a Vanguard to fix the ship without data. Otherwise, we're going to be like trying to like
the ship while fighting off
weld the holes in the hull while the
hilariously sized stack of floppy disks.
Yeah, are they 3 1/4 floppies or 5 1/4?
I don't know. I was imagining them being about this big. He said they're like clear discs, but I assume that they're intensely strong data storage. I mean, he basically tried to stock pool like the data for their entire civilization in here, and we're going to take as much out as we can carry. But
Any sort of engineering things that tell you how to build ships that don't explode on contact with anything?
Flex Officer's Log. It is unfortunate how intelligent beings cannot use logic to solve their disputes and must instead turn to violence. My species gave up violence long ago and... Wait, no, sorry, that's not correct. Never mind, delete this log.
From the scattered dust of the broken Rulica mediocrity, this is Flint Daniels transmitting Space Ranger. A message of hope to all nations of the galaxy. Grave times are upon us, for the Leviathan approaches. But we know in our hearts that there is a better way. A way upwards, forwards, onwards, to reach the unreachable star. I await your transmission.
Man, this thing is a lot worse than I even thought it was from the space station we were on before. This Circinus galaxy was completely... I don't know if it was completely overrun or... I mean, obviously, information somewhat limited because it had to be purged from all the information, but this is bad, and this Leviathan is coming, and I'm afraid.
Lieutenant Chumley, Security Officer's Log. Well, we're still here on Doria GB7, which I like to call the French buffet for all the dishes. Anyway, we came across a glimstick and a bunch of things, well, flickering off and on. Bit of a Captain Queer Knobs, if you ask me. Anyway, despite him having an odd kick in one's gallop, he led us on a fancy chase with all sorts of random bits and bobs trying to stick cords into us. Eventually, we went into some underground bunker place, and he decided he was going to come clean with us about some kind of giant moving black hole ship full of varlets and cutting glokes. I don't know. So they come attacking with chaff cutter of all things. Well, I just don't know. Sounds like a bit of mimble-bamble to me. But anyway, if it's true, we might not be a planet of Tartars. I sure hope we're up to snuff. Sounds like a bit more than we can chew off, if you ask me. Anyway, another news, I'm almost out of snuff. And Hawking obviously doesn't have any. I don't know. I should try to make a secret compartment in the ship or something to keep my stuff in. I'll have to talk to the captain about that. Anyway, signing off.